Hello, I'm Chris. Welcome to my reading corner. I hope you're all well. This is my 24 books I want to read this year. I'm aiming to get my unread books down, so I thought a good idea would be to do this, to have a bit of an idea of reads. The reason for some of them would be because that author was born that month, but I can't really remember that now because I did this like December time. And I thought, do you know what, this would make a good video, and then noticed a lot more people had done it than I anticipated have done it. So, but anyway, this is my video basically. I picked 2 books, maybe more, if depending on the reason of the book I picked. So I did it by month by month. So I did January and so on. So I'm going to go through that way now. So I'm going to start off with January first, which these are 2 books I've actually read, and I read them in January. First one is Tales of the Apes. Now this copy's fallen a bit to bits, but so I could do with sorting that out to repair it and get it up and running again. Although I enjoyed this, really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was my first ever Tarzan book, but it's by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's not my first Edgar Rice Burroughs. I read Kasbah trilogy first because I had that, and I thought it would be a good introduction with it being a smaller trilogy than starting with Tarzan. But now I'm into Tarzan, I'm really enjoying it. And I read The Return of Tarzan this month, which I also give 4 stars to. So that'll be my wrap up, but that wasn't part of this. But with Tarzan though, I decided I'm going to read a book a month for the next 2 years. So I thought we'll start off in January with doing that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So that's book 1 of my 24 books to read in 2024. Secondly, I decided to read The Sound of Waves by Yukio Mishima. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. This book I really enjoyed. I said that about Tarzan. Let's go more into that. So it was set in a remote fishing village in Japan. The Sound of Waves is a timeless story of first love. It tells of Shinji, a young fisherman, and Hatsu, the beautiful daughter of the wealthiest man in the village. Shinji is entranced at the sight of the Hatsu in the twilight on the beach, and they fall in love. When the villagers' gossip threatens to divide them, Shinji must risk his life to prove his worth. I think this book was brilliant. I could not put this book down. I wanted to see how it ended. Now I won't give any spoilers out, but it's a bit of like cross lovers from different social paths, and yeah, I definitely recommend this book if you're into that sort of thing. But I do like Yukio Mishima. This is my 3rd book I've read by him now, so I've read. I'd be looking at seeing what else he has written to pick up. So, in February, I decided to read the William S. Burroughs, the Cut Up trilogy. So I started off with The Soft Machine, then I read The Nova Express, and then The Ticket That Exploded. Now that isn't the publication order, that is the order that is recommended. The books are strange and hard to read, I found, because, just one second, because there's no set narrative. So and you're like, where did that bit come from? And you'll read something and it'll throw you out of it. And I give them all 3 stars. But I feel like those books would either go up in my estimations and become 4 or 5 stars the more I read them. I feel like they're like one of them films like you watch a few times and then you're like, I get it now. I had that with Fight Club and Matrix, for example, and also Lucky Number 11 is my favourite film, and that is all interlinked, and how it interlinks is, I think it's brilliant, but you have to watch it a few times. You have to be invested, I'd say, with them. That isn't my first William S. Burroughs read. I also read Junkie, Queer, The A's Letters, and Hippos Were Born in a Tank, which he wrote with Jack Kerouac, and also Naked Lunch. So I wouldn't recommend starting with those books, to be honest. I'd probably start with Junkie because it's more of a straight narrative, more of a story there than there is in the Cut Up trilogy, as it's known. But that was February, and I've also got one more from February. See, this month I had the trilogy, so I decided to read all that in 1 month rather than reading it over a couple of months. And then the final book in February I'm hoping to get to like later on this evening or tomorrow morning on the way to work, is The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis. Now, I don't really like movie covers, but I think that's a really cool cover. Obviously that's Bowie on the front cover. I don't really know what this is about. I just fancied reading it. So I'm just going to read the back of the book. On his first day on Earth, Thomas J. Newton walks into a small Kentucky town to sell a gold ring for $60. Yet this tall, unnaturally frail and strange man needs much more money than in this to achieve his ultimate aims. By licensing the plans for unimaginable advanced technology, he makes himself a fortune. But in doing so, he becomes an object of fascination and even greater suspicion for others. So that sounds really good. I'm looking forward to reading that. I'm currently working through The Tremor of Intent by Anthony Burgess. So once I've finished that, I'm going to read The Man Who Fell to Earth. So that's January, February done. They've more or less been read apart from the one book. So I'm on track at the minute. Obviously, I probably won't finish it in February, The Man Who Fell to Earth, but I'll definitely finish it in March. Talking of March, we're now on to March, and it's March Mystery Madness. So I've kind of gone for that kind of theme with these two books. So, I say a theme, I mean the crime, more the crime than the actual mystery book. So, I decided to read Perfume by Patrick Suskind. Now, I remember when I hadn't heard about this book and I saw somebody reading it on the train, I was like, that looks like a cool book. What are they reading? And then I had to find out, so I was like trying not stare but also find out what they were reading. But this sounds really good as well. I can't wait to read this. I'm not sure if there's any. Okay. So, born in sweaty, fetid 18th century Paris, Grenouille, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, is distinctive even in infancy. He has the finest nose in Paris and no personal odour. With wit, a Gothic imagination and considerable originality, Suskind has developed this simple idea into a fantastic tale of murder and twisted eroticism, controlled by disgusted loathing of humanity, clever, stylish and absorbing and well worth reading. That's the literary review. So that sounds really good. Like I say, I think that's good for March Mystery Madness, a bit of a crime. I don't know what the outcome of this is or anything, so going to look forward to reading this. Next up in March, again, another crime one, is a Mickey Spillane, One Lonely Night. This is one of his Mike Hammer books. I've read a few of them so far. I'm not sure which one this is in the series, but I'm looking forward to carrying on with the series. I think there's a couple more, and then he had a bit of an hiatus, and then he come back, and then after that, Max Allen Collins took over when he passed away. So I'm not sure. I don't think I've read any Max Allen Collins, but I've read a few of these so far in this series, so I'm looking forward to reading more. Then in April, I have 2 books again. So I've got Kurt Vonnegut, Mother Night. I still got the price. I need to take the price off, but I just thought I'd quickly show them before I start having to struggle to get stickers off. So this is a Vonnegut book. I have Breakfast of Champions. I have read Breakfast of Champions, which is one of my favourite books. I also read Slaughterhouse 5 as well. But I decided to try something else this year, so I went for Mother Night. Now, Mother Night is, whilst awaiting trial for war crimes in an Israeli prison, Howard W. Campbell Jr. sets down his memoirs on an old German typewriter. He has used such a typewriter before when he worked as a Nazi propagandist under Goebbels, though that was before he agreed to become a spy for the US military. Is Howard guilty? Can a black or white verdict ever be reached in a world that's a gazillion shades of grey? That sounds good, that. I'm looking forward to that. I do find World War II interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of losses, which, isn't good. But yeah, I find it interesting because, like, my grandma lived through it, and I never asked her about it, and I wished I had. But so I think that would be quite interesting, especially the fact that it mentions Goebbels in it, and also Nazi Germany. Like, obviously that's something I'm interested in, so I'm looking forward to that. Next up, we have Jack Kerouac, Desolation Angels. Again, this isn't my first Jack Kerouac. I've read The Dharma Bums and On the Road. I've also read Poems, which I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like his poems, his haikus, which I enjoyed. I'll probably reread that actually as well at some point. But this is Desolation Angels. I remember watching something about him, and it was like Desolation, like where I think he was doing fire in the hills or something. And I thought, that sounds really interesting. So I decided to choose this for April. Now, Desolation Angels is the wild and soulful story of the legendary road trip that Jack Kerouac took before the publication of On the Road, told through the persona of Jack Deloz, and accompanied by his thinly disguised beat cohorts, Allen Ginsberg, Gregory Corso, and William Burroughs, as they hitch top-hop freight trains, walk and talk their way across the world, from California to Mexico, London to Paris, and on to an opium-ridden Tangiers. Kerouac chronicles their poetry, partying, mountain vigils, and spiritual contemplation with unsurpassable energy and humanity. So I do like Kerouac, but my mate loves On the Road. He's got a tattoo of lines in the book, and I'm not sure if I enjoy it as much as him, but I did enjoy it. Now, we're on to... we're on to May now. So in May, I've decided to read... Now, you've probably never heard of this book before. Just kidding. Jaws. Never watched the film. I'm kind of glad to say, because I can read the book and then watch the film rather than what... Like, sometimes I watched a film previously. I'm then watching the film as I read the book. So I like the idea of not read this before to read this and then be able to watch the film. So, Jaws, I imagine a lot of people know what this is, so I'm not going to go too much into Jaws, but it's a book I've wanted to read for a while. I have read another one by Peter Benchley. think it was The Island, I want to say. I think it was The Island anyway. The Island or The Deep, I've got in my head. And then the second book in May is Journey into the End of the Night by Celine. This is a book I wanted to read last year, but I never got to it. So I'm definitely going to make sure I get to it this year. So, first published in 1932, Journey to the End of the Night was immediately acclaimed as a masterpiece and a turning point in French literature. Told in the first person by Celine's fictional alter ego, Bardamu, the novel is loosely based on the author's own experiences during the First World War in French colonial Africa, in the USA, and later as a young doctor in a working-class suburb in Paris. Celine's disgust with human folly, malice, greed, and the chaotic state in which man has left society lies behind the bitterness that distinguishes his idiosyncratic, colloquial and visionary writing, and gives it its force. That was a bit of a mouthful at the end, but yeah. So Journey into the Night by Celine. Now I like Bukowski. I think Bukowski's mentioned Celine, so it's a book I really fancy reading. So I'm going to get to that in May. Now, this is the month where I didn't have a specific... I didn't want to do it too specific because I had a few different options. And that's June. Because it's June on the Range, which is westerns. Now, I have a few westerns. I've never read any of them. So I thought, well, this is a good idea for the month of June. So I have Louis L'Amour, The Man Called Noon, which is an option for me to read. I really like that cover. Then I've got a couple of Edge books. So I don't have the first one, but I have Blood on Silver. These are all New English Library. I really like New English Library. This is Slaughter Road. And then The Frightened Gun. So that's I'd probably read those four. So you can see they're only thin paperbacks. Then I have the option of now the Fistful of Dollars, that trilogy. I'm not sure with Clint Eastwood in. These are the books that follow that, so I thought I could watch the films. I thought I could watch the films in June and then read these books after. So you can't see the title, but that says A Coffin Full of Dollars. Again, I really like that cover. A Dollar to Die For by Brian Fox. I think the first one was by Joe Millard. So, Joe Millard again, The Devil's Dollar Sign. The $1 Million Blood Hunt, also by Joe Millard. I think Brian Fox wrote one and then Joe Millard wrote the rest. Yeah, Joe Millard wrote the rest. Blood for a Dirty Dollar as well. So that's an option. So it'd be Louis L'Amour and the Edge books, or the 5 other dollar western. Oh, that's it. A Dollar to Die For a few dollars more, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, but I'm not sure what the trilogy's called. But then, for June on the Range, I also have a few Elmore Leonard, and I'm not sure whether they would fall into it, but I'd have to have a look. But I've also got another trilogy which I fancied reading, because by Cormac McCarthy, which is the Border trilogy, and this is All the Pretty Horses. Now I really like Cormac McCarthy. I know a lot of people aren't keen on him, but I Love the Road. That's one of my favourite books. I've also read No Country for Old Men as well, which I didn't enjoy as much as The Road, but I just think because The Road's one of my favourite books, it was always going to be hard to match that. But so that's book 1 in the Border trilogy anyway, but I'm looking forward to reading these as well. And then I've got book 2, which is The Crossing. I love that they're all the same edition. I don't want to know too much about the second book if I don't read the first book. And the same, this is the third book, Cities of the Plain, and this is the third book. So yeah, so it's going to be either the 5 like Clint Eastwood related books, Edge and Lewis L'Amour, or the Top trilogy, or maybe I do a mixture. I don't know, but that I want to leave that quite open, really. We're now on to July, so I fancied reading The Day of the Triffids, John Wyndham. Again, I don't know much about this either, but I fancied reading it. When a freak cosmic event renders most of Earth's population blind, Bill Mason, one of the lucky few to keep his sight, finds himself trapped in a London jammed with sightless mobs who prey on those who can see, but another menace stalks blind and sighted alike. With nobody to stop them, the Triffids, walking carnivorous plants with lethal stingers, rise up as humanity stumbles and falls. That sounds really good, actually. John Wyndham. I haven't read any John Wyndham before, so this is my introduction to John Wyndham. I'm not sure whether it's a good starting point or not, but it's the one I'm going for. I think I've got another one, The Midwich Cuckoos, I think I've got. But that's what I'm starting with. Next up, in July, we have Franz Kafka, America. I've read The Trial and I've read The Castle. So this is I think this is his third novel. I don't think this was completed though when he died, I don't think. Off the top of my head anyway. And then I was planning on reading The Metamorphosis as well, either this year or next year. So that's, I'm sure everyone knows who Kafka is, so that's America anyway. That'll be the third book I've read by him. And then something a bit different, like, I'm not sure. This is non-fiction, so first non-fiction read on the list. It won't be. These are just books I thought I've probably had on my shelf for a while, or books that stood out to me. That's why I picked them. But this is Truman Capote in Cold Blood. I've had this for ages. I want to read it. Sounds really good. I like non-fiction. I do like reading non-fiction and probably will try to read more. As well as what I'm reading at the moment. On 15th of November 1959, in the small town of Holcomb, Kansas, a wealthy farmer, his wife and their 2 young children were found brutally murdered. Blood all over the walls, the telephone lines cut, and only a few dollars stolen. Heading up the investigation is Agent Al Dewey, but all he has are 2 footprints, 4 bodies, and a whole lot of questions. Truman Capote's detailed reconstruction of the events and consequences of that fateful night in Cold Blood is a chilling, gripping mix of journalistic skill and imaginative power. So another one I'm really looking forward to, but I do want to add, although these are mainly fiction, I do want to add some non-fiction to my reading this year. In August, I have P.D. James, The Children of Men. I've not seen the film again. I do like P.D. James. The only things I've read so far are the Sleep No More and another one, which is like the Christmassy murders that I really enjoyed. I read both of them this year, although Sleep No More I've had a while. Oh, that's it. Mistletoe Murders is the other one. So yeah, I read that for the first time last year, near Christmas, and I read the other one. I've read it a few times and try and read it every Christmas, really, the other one, because I've had it a while. But yeah, I enjoyed them. So I'm looking forward to reading something that's not crime by P.D. James. There's also a couple of other books I have by her that I've not read, which are, I think, Cordelia Gray Mysteries, and then I know she's got Adam Dalgliesh as well, which I'll probably read Cordelia Gray first, and then start on the Adam Dalgliesh. But yeah, Children of Men, I'm really looking forward to that. Then, also in August, I want to read J.G. Ballard, High Rise. I've not read any J.G. Ballard before, so this is my introduction again. I don't know if it's a good introduction, whether I should start with something else, but I realised I had this on my shelf and thought I'd give it a go. So, within the concealing walls of an elegant 40-storey tower block, the affluent tenants are hell-bent on an orgy of destruction. Cocktail parties degenerate into marauding attacks on enemy floors, and the once luxurious amenities become an arena for riots and technological mayhem. In this visionary tale of urban disillusionment, society slips into a violent reverse as the isolated inhabitants of the high-rise, driven by primal urges, recreate a dystopian world ruled by the laws of the jungle. Now, as soon as it mentions dystopian, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Love dystopian. Like I say, The Road's one of my favourite books. You know, I probably will do a favourite book, top 10 maybe at some point soon. Just find my feet with this at the minute, so. But anyway, August now. No, that was August, wasn't it? Yeah, this is August as well. Oh, no. Sorry, that was September. This is also September. This is The Memory Police by Yoko Agahawa. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I've had this for ages. I wanted this as soon as I saw it was coming out, and I've not read it yet. So it's one I'm going to definitely get to. And I love that cover. I think it's kind of like picture book artwork as well, which I think is really cool. I think sometimes you can't judge a book by by a cover, but if it attracts you, you're going to pick it up. So, looking forward to this anyway. That's September. Now, I have mentioned before I like horror. I'm not really sure if this is classed as horror, but I love the cover. And this is, I know he's probably known as a horror author, but I know he also has a mixture of books, and that's Dean Koontz. The Taking. I just love the hand on the cover. I've wanted to read Dean Koontz for a while, and again, this is my first foray into him, so I don't know if it's the right one to start with or not, but I just love the cover of it, and purple's one of my favourite colours as well, so that's probably swayed me a bit as well, but I just can't. Every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, I need to read that. On the morning that will mark the end of the world, they have known. Molly and Neil Sloan wake to find eerily luminous downpour drenching their small Californian mountain town. As the rain continues to fall, TV pictures relay disturbing news of extreme weather phenomena across the globe. With the evening comes a ghostly fog. Their sense of isolation is complete when first TV and radio, then the internet and phone lines go dead. Molly and Neil gather with neighbours, sensing an awful danger approaching with the night. It's like a scary movie made real. But what is really happening? Is it science gone wrong, or technology beyond human understanding, or something deeper, more fundamental? Something to do with fate and purpose. Something that won't have a Hollywood ending. Wow. I want to read it now. But that's The Taking. Again, love the spine, look with the hand again, and on the back as well, the hand. So yeah, really looking forward to starting with Dean Koontz. Next up, another horror. I don't know if this is horror or dystopian. I suppose it probably falls in both. This is The Fog by James Herbert. I've read the Rat series by James Herbert, which I really enjoyed. I don't want to know much about this. I just want to I just want to jump into it blind, and that's The Fog. Now, we're near the end now. So this is Albert Camus, The Plague. Just 1 second. So this is Albert Camus, The Plague. This is my second book by him I'm reading. I already read The Stranger, which I feel like needs a reread because it's been a while since I've read it. But I decided to read The Plague. I mean, it's quite a thick book, but it's not. It feels quite light in my hand. It starts with the rats vomiting blood. They die in their hundreds, then in their thousands. When the rats are all gone, the citizens begin to fall sick. Like the rats, they too die in ever great numbers. The authorities quarantine the town, cut off the terrified news people. The terrified news people must face this horror alone. Some resign themselves to death or the whims of fate. Others seek someone to blame or dream of revenge. One is determined to escape, but a few, like stoic Dr. Riox, stand together to fight the terror. A monstrous evil has entered their lives, but they will never surrender. They will resist the plague. That sounds really good as well. I don't think there's a book I've picked that I don't fancy reading right now. And then for another one for November as well is, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I know I'm going to get it wrong, but it's Notes from Underground, and I'm sure everyone's heard of him, but I'm not going to pronounce that name. This is a book again I wanted to read last year. It's only thin, but I've wanted to read. I also want to read the brothers I'm going to regret starting that. Karamov, the brothers anyway. I want to read that as well, by him. Again, this is the first book into him. Him I can't pronounce. It's like The Boy Who Shall Not Be Named. Him Who Shall Not Be Named. Him Who Can't Be Pronounced. So that's Notes from Underground. I really want to read that. Looking forward to it. And then finally, December. Now, this is a book I've read before, but I've not read this edition, so I kind of classed it as it's a book I've not read. This is The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I think, again, it has an alternative, like World War II to it, from what I remembered. But again, I want to reread it, so I picked it up a while ago and then decided now to reread it. And then finally, another one that's more than one book is by Henry Miller, The Tropic of Cancer and The Tropic of Capricorn. I picked these both up together, and I remember I've got the band mug that has different band books on it, and I know The Tropic of Cancer is on there, so I fancied reading those anyway. And then when I saw these editions, I don't usually go for hardbacks. I mean, I do have a few hardbacks that I've ended up collecting, so but I just like those editions. So that's December. Yeah, I don't usually go for hardbacks, but I do have a few Stephen King books up there. Up there, whenever and also a few like Robert Harris books I've ended up getting in hardback rather than paperback for some reason, but just I kind of gravitated towards those hardbacks. But usually I do prefer paperbacks, as you can see. I think there's 3 hardbacks out of 24 books. Well, the planned 24 books. There's obviously a few more in places, but yeah, out. The biggest majority was paperbacks there. So that's all the books I plan on. Not all the books I plan on reading, but that is a way of trying to get my unread books down. I will be coming back with a February wrap up and what I'm going to be reading for March Mystery Madness. I'm going to try and throw a bit of non-fiction in that as well, as as crime, as well as graphic novels and manga. So that them will be coming soon and up and coming in the next couple of days. I'll probably try and do my February wrap up and tomorrow, and then maybe Friday do the next one, the March CBR. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.